Hello and welcome to BQ Prime. A very good morning to all the viewers. I am Hiral Dadia. Clearly, if you see in terms of where markets go, good momentum that we have been picking up. You have Nifty, which has managed to stay above those 19,300 levels. However, there is some bit of cooling off that has happened as well. We hit a high of 19,413 in trade today. With regards to Bank Nifty as well, 45,200 is what we are maintaining so far with gains of around 0.2%. But there is some bit of consolidation that we have been witnessing so far. But a lot of stock specific action is what we are tracking in today's session as well. And clearly, the kind of momentum that has been built with regards to where markets are concerned, that's not only coming in from the large caps, there is good momentum that's being built across markets. You talk about the small cap companies or you talk about the mid cap companies as well. So there is that all round catch up that the Indian markets have been playing vis-a-vis the global markets, because clearly from a YTD basis as well, Indian markets have underperformed the global markets, and that's the gap that we have been trying to fill. How sustainable from here on it is, that's something we need to wait and watch and see. But joining us on the show now to discuss more in terms of individual counters is Jay Prakash Gupta, founder at DAN. Jay, good morning and welcome to the show.
Yeah, hi, Hinel. Good morning. Great to have you on your show.
Always a pleasure to speak to you. Jay, my first question coming to you is, the HDFC twins have been spoken about quite a lot now. The next in line is the IDFC twins, where we are seeing a merger that is happening. What is your view, number one, on the merger? And two, what would you advise investors to do taking the arbitrage opportunity into consideration?
Well, Hinel, the merger, it seems like that's been the flavor of the season. This is the third one in a row, I believe. So HDFC, then Shriram Finance, now IDFC Bank. See, the arbitrage opportunity, I feel, has already been priced in, because today we have seen, one of the stocks opening 6% lower and the other going up by 6%. But the ratio, 155 is to 100, it's slightly skewed towards IDFC, because the ratio is likely to benefit the shareholders of HDFC as such. The merger, I believe, is trying to play out the synergy which the two entities combined can have going forward. Because you will have a common business, a common KYC, common customer pool, and the margins doesn't get split. So I think it's a strategic move, and most likely to be successful in coming days. From the shareholders' perspective, I think if you hold IDFC shares, you have a slight benefit as of now. But going forward, we also need to watch how banks, NIMs are going to improve, how the business of IDFC is going to complement to the bank's business, and I believe it will be a win-win situation in the long run for either of the entity shareholders.
Right, so that's with regards to where IDFC goes. Moving from there on, from the financial space, you have a Bajaj Finance, which is seeing some smart moves in today's session, and this is on the back of the robust Q1 business update that they have given out. Clearly, there are brokerage upgrades as well. What do you make of a Bajaj Finance, and do you advise an investor to sell who's holding the counter at current levels, taking the upside, or even for someone who wants to enter the stock, is this a good opportunity?
Well, Hinal, I really admire the way Bajaj Finance has performed over the last few quarters. In spite of all the headwinds, all the talks about recession, slowdown, the phenomenal numbers. If you look at the numbers, their margins have improved. It's best in several quarters, and the stock is just few percentages away from a lifetime high. All hats off to the way the execution has been done by the leadership team and management. Now, coming to the performance, if you look at long-term view, I don't see there is any challenge there. But in the short run, what we are witnessing, there are few data points at macro level which is confusing. One is the auto sales number, which has fallen. There has been less number of hiring as compared to last year, which is happening. The only silver lining, which is on the macro side, is the GST collections have gone up. The direct income tax collections have gone up. That could be because of the widening of the net, the taxpayers' net. But short term, I believe there could be some kind of headwinds, as there is also likelihood of El Nino effect setting in. So that may slow down some kind of activity in tier 2 and rural areas. That may slow down the credit offtake. But overall, it's a good stock to keep a watch on. I think once it touches a lifetime high, the market also looks very good. It may correct a bit because that would be more of a profit taking, but one should keep an eye on any kind of dip you find in the stock, maybe somewhere around 7,200, 7,300 looks like a good stock to get into at those levels.
Right. Moving on, a Genius Power is in focus, and this is the stock is seeing some smart moves on the back of an order win. Clearly, if you see in terms of the counter, a 2,200 crore order, and their current order book is around 4,400 odd crores. What would you advise on the Genius Power?
I think the order book has been really encouraging. But setting up smart meters and all is really which gives a boost to the earnings, the margins, and all. But I think that I would rather take it as a one-off case where the stock moves up. It's very important to also ensure that the follow-up order book and the follow-up margins, will that be sustainable or not? So I think investors who just want to play on the stock or were holding, if they are sitting on a good profit margins, I think you should revisit your stock and probably you can take profits off the table. For the long-term view, I think the stock has to also perform for coming couple of quarters just to ensure that the momentum which they have got through this order, will they be able to sustain on that and keep the same kind of margins intact in coming quarters?
Right. So that's with regards to Genius Power. Moving on to the auto space, you already have the auto sales numbers that trickled in over the weekend and yesterday. And now with Harley Davidson, launching with Hero Moto in the leisure, luxury segment, taking the price point into consideration. Plus, you have a Triumph, which will be launching tomorrow as well and revealing their price points. How are you looking at the luxury and the premium space, and what would happen to our Eicher Motors from here on?
I think that's getting into a very interesting zone now. See, for companies like even Hero MotoCorp, which has got some kind of tie-up with Harley Davidson, they want to focus and build on the premiumization, which they are trying to look into. Their strategy has also been to get into the premium category rather than only providing the affordable aspect of the two-wheeler, which they are already having a largest market share. I think this space is, as I told you, that the space is looking interesting. I think Eicher Motors will also come up with more features, more products which are going to be ultimately beneficial for the customers. And if you see that if you have more players, who are trying to fight on the quality, trying to bring the best out of the technology and the features, this is ultimately going to be a game changer for the industry, for the two-wheeler space in India as well. I think that it's a good move, and even for companies like Eicher Motors, there is someone who can actually try to bring best out of them, and they may also work on getting something, a better product in coming times. So I don't see it as a threat for Eicher Motors, but rather it is going to provide them a healthy competition where they can improve from here on.
Right. Jay, South Indian Bank has been in focus as well on the quarterly update. In fact, yesterday's session, the stock ended with gains of almost around 10%. And today as well, if you see in terms of the counter, it is seeing some bit of profit booking that's creeping in. What's your view on a South Indian Bank?
Hinal, I don't see anything wrong on the counter as of now. The banking stocks have been doing well. The overall ecosystem of NBFCs and private as well as PSU banks have performed well in last few quarters. The only headwind which I see is if the numbers which have come, the lower than expected auto sales, and also there is a slowdown in hiring expected. That's happening in overall, in MSME sector as well. And also, if the El Nino effect sets in, I think the credit offtake may slow down, and that may impact the margins in coming quarters. So that's the only headwind which I see as of now. Otherwise, in terms of NPAs, in terms of the book size and all. I am pretty comfortable with that. So maybe a slight dip is possible, and the market is also at lifetime high, so investors also need to keep a watch on that. If any negative news comes, if the market corrects, the mid cap and the small cap stocks also in the banking sector might correct more than what the market or the overall indices corrects. So that thing needs to be kept in mind.
Right. Moving on, Jay, let's quickly talk about the telecom space as well. Now you have Jio, which is come in with a 999 handset, which will be internet enabled. How big a competition do you think that will be to a Bharti Airtel? That stock is trading under pressure, and you have Vodafone Idea, which is tweaked its prepaid plan as well.
Hinal, see, the kind of if I talk about the size of Indian markets, right? So the mobile penetration and internet penetration is likely to grow from here on, and there is always a space for a duopoly kind of market. And we are currently witnessing, if you leave Vodafone aside, you have two large players, Jio and Bharti. I think both will coexist. The whole it's not in favor of the economy that there could be a monopolistic situation in the telecom space. So I think both will coexist. There will be policies which I believe would be there, which will not be favoring only one entity. I think the whole thing lies about which segment you want to target. So if Jio is trying to get into masses by coming up with 999 plans, I think Bharti would also have to re-strategize and see there are other spaces on 5G, on the institutional side where they can have their own market share. So as I told that for a Vodafone kind of companies, I think which doesn't have a very healthy balance sheet, they might face some kind of challenge and threat from the other two. But for Bharti, I don't see it as a threat as of now.
Right, so that's with regards to where the telecom space goes. Thank you, Jay, so much for joining us on the show and sharing those views. But clearly, a good move that we've been witnessing in terms of where markets are concerned. But the anticipation is that there could be some bit of consolidation that could start creeping in as well. So, buy on dips and sell on rally is what the analysts are recommending as well. Thank you, stay safe, and speak to you soon again. That's all that we have on this edition. Lots more lined up on the other side. Please stay tuned to BK Prime.